by sitting on these impeachment charges by the House until President Trump can get a fair trial is just an absolute lie. If the Democrats were interested in a fair trial, President Trump's legal team would have been allowed access to witnesses. We would not have a secret witness that worked with Schiff, among many other legal problems. This all goes without mentioning that the entire case would be thrown out in any honest court of law. I am no legal expert, but if Pelosi does continue this route, there is a possibility that the terms will expire and they will have to vote on new ones. We are just beginning to learn about all of the things that Epstein was up to. Fox is the only major network that is talking about this, because MSNBC and CNN do not want to talk about it. If you do not believe me, just look at these screenshots. Even when I specifically pull up MSNBC and CNN, they do not have a single article on the first page. To be fair, ABC does have an article, but it is not the first in the queue. Why this cover-up? Simple. It is damaging to their plan of LGBTQ+P and could damage Hillary Clinton as a result of her husband's affairs. Pilot logs show that whenever Bill Clinton was on board, there were almost always underage girls as well. This ranch had a strip club, 8-person shower, and a camera in every room. All of this with underage girls. More details are coming to light all the time, and the fact that the majority of the mainstream media refuses to cover it is just beyond despicable. The feds have been grabbing at education since parents first gave up their right to educate their own children. There have been many perversions, most of which would get me taken down. Illinois, the home state of President Obama, has passed a rule that places LGBTQ+P education in public schools. What is the P, you might ask? The sodomites have been biding their time, legalizing gay marriage, allowing grown men to shower with girls, creating drag queen story hour, Desmond is amazing, keeping the Epstein story under the rug. All of this as a grand plan to bring the final part of sodomy to full fruition. It will no longer be between consenting adults. Liberals do love to defend Islam, and the prophet there married and had relations with a child, laying the seeds for evil indeed. Let's step away from that content for a while before my blood boils over. Evangelist Kent Hovind is continuing to fight his legal case where he was accused of taking money out of the ministry bank account to perform ministry tasks. The government broke hundreds of laws to put him in prison, but this may be the most damaging of all. There is no verified complaint. The short and sweet of the legalism is that without this verified complaint, the trial could not even begin. Just like the sham trial that President Trump is having to go through, Dr. Hovind is fighting an uphill battle. However, there is recourse. Since the judge would not look at the complaint, there are grounds for impeachment. The case number is listed above. Think about this. If the feds can arrest a Baptist preacher or a presidential candidate, you can be arrested by a sham trial as well. Even though the liberals insist that there is no war on Christmas, there is. I remember hearing a report many years ago. The teller went to a restaurant and afterwards the waitress wished him happy holidays. He then told her that he did not mind if she said Merry Christmas. She whispered to him that she was not allowed to say that. Whether the story is true or not, if an employer forbids you from saying Merry Christmas and you did, you could be terminated. You can even get into legal trouble, even if there is no mandate. Whitney Cummings came forward that last year she wished everyone at her workplace a Merry Christmas before she left. She came back to find that an intern had filed a report at HR. The intern had been triggered by such a hurtful phrase. Apparently, the intern was agnostic, and Cummings said that she could not have possibly known that, even if she was not addressing a large group. The CDC has officially associated the myriad of vaping-related illnesses with vitamin E acetate, a chemical commonly found in cannabis. Although there have been many deaths by e-cigs, they fall astronomically short of the number of deaths from texting while driving. Moving on, as a result of a potential government ban in some places, many are switching to the black market. This has even higher concentrations of vitamin E acetate. I ask again, haven't we seen this before? We saw the same thing under Prohibition. Because alcohol was illegal, there was even less incentive for it to be safe, and the potency of this alcohol went up as much as 50 to 100%. We are going to see the same thing with e-cigs before long. Meanwhile, if you are mature enough to be drafted into war at 18, aren't you mature enough to buy tobacco products without waiting until 21? Australia has joined the nations that do not recognize the statehood of Palestine. Other nations include the United States, South Korea, Japan, and most of Western Europe. Palestine is a terrorist state that is trying to steal Israeli land by raining down missiles. With even fewer countries recognizing its legitimacy and the BDS movement falling apart, I have a good feeling about this. Granted, this evil will come again and again until the final judgment, and we must remain ever vigilant. Speaking of stopping Palestine, the Israeli defense minister is working to stop payments to terrorists' families. More specifically, they can no longer deduct this expense on their taxes. The goal is to make Israeli blood unprofitable. If there is no financial incentive, it will be harder to recruit. Granted, this will not end until every terrorist is dead and their propaganda ends, but that is not going to happen anytime soon. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke, maybe I'm completely off my rocker, but that is just my opinion.